Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Livin. My name is Chirag.
My name is Aldrin, and it's so good to be with you guys again. And as you can see, we're in the Christmas spirit. We're getting festive. We've got our hats on, we've got the lights, and we're really excited for Christmas.
I don't know about you, Aldrin, but this is like my most favorite time of the year. The food, I love the food, the Christmas songs, the decorations. I just love Christmas. I love being with people, but mainly the food.
It's
I love
beautiful,
the food,
yeah. The chocolate logs with double
man.
cream. I am like just out for those.
I love those, man. But I went to London recently to go check out the decorations, the trees and stuff, and the lights. It's so amazing to see loads of people kind of come round and look at all the Christmas things we do, the traditions we do. Have you seen any decorations yourself?
I haven't really seen any decorations. I remember like, because London lights are supposed to be like a big thing. I remember going there a few years back, and like I was literally in awe of how the lights were. It's beautiful.
Have you done any decorations yourself? Have you put anything up at home or?
Yeah, I have. I put decorations up at home. I put decorations up at my workplace with my colleagues. I just putting up the Christmas tree and all these other things. Like just decorating the tree. I also put some Happy Birthday Jesus signs.
That's cool.
So like celebrating the birthday of Jesus. We want to keep Christ in Christmas. No shame about that.
Do you do that every year?
Last couple of years, I've actually lost this badge I got a couple of years ago at Christmas. It's like a badge, and it said "Happy Birthday, Jesus." I love that.
You might need to get me one of those.
Definitely.
But yeah, I haven't put any decorations up at home yet.
You
we have a small house, and so there's not a lot of space. So
actually,
and then you got to take it down, and then so.
Actually, I think I have another idea.
What's that?
I think this year you shouldn't really put it up. Like, give you a creative idea.
Okay.
Instead of decorating your house, you should decorate just your beard. Seriously, like this is a real thing.
Okay, so what would you suggest I do to it?
So you can get like these bubbles. You put and even glitter. Like this is a thing. And let me just make this challenge to the viewers. If you guys are skilled with Photoshop or any of those kind of photo editing software, we're giving you one-time kind of opportunity to take a screenshot of Chirag, or even we'll send you a picture if you message us, and you can Photoshop his beard, Chirag's beard, and make it as festive as you like.
If anyone can pull that off, I'd love to see it.
I will announce the winner of the most festive Chirag's beard.
What does the winner get?
We'll decide at another point. It'll be something good.
I hope so. But we talked about decorations and stuff like that. And it's great to see it in big cities and places that are influential and places which are capital cities. Have you seen any yourself?
Again, I haven't, but like I remember going to New York just a few months ago, and so it's not the Christmas season, but I went to the Rockefeller Center, and they were talking about, there was a little video that they played about the history, and they're talking about how it became a tradition to have a really big tree outside the Rockefeller Center, and today it's become such a big thing. And so there's pictures that you can actually go to Google and see like big trees of Rockefeller Center, and in 1999, the biggest tree was like 100 feet.
Wow.
High. That is high, and so people from all around America, even all around the world, will go to New York to see this and to see these decorations and celebrate Christmas.
It's interesting you say that, because we're talking today about essentially the first Christmas. But when you read through the story of Christmas, do you see people going to capital cities? Do you see people looking at lights and things, or I don't know?
Yeah, like, so that's the thing that I do not see that. So we want to compare. So what today we want to do is actually compare and contrast the way we celebrate Christmas today to the way Christmas was done the first time it happened, when Jesus was born. How did God want it to be celebrated, in essence? And it wasn't, as you say, it wasn't a big place. So in those days, Rome was a major city. It was the center of that time period. It was the center of trade. It was the center of this power, all of that. And it's like today, New York, is the center of trade, and people go there, decoration. But during the first Christmas, people didn't go to Rome. it was in Bethlehem.
Yeah. So you're saying people nowadays go to places which are already significant or influential, but when we read about the story of Christmas in the Bible, it's the complete opposite. People went to a place called Bethlehem, which, like you said, wasn't well known. People didn't regard it as anything special. But this is where we find the context of the story of Christmas. And this is the place we continue to talk about year after year because there was something special about it.
Yeah, and so today we're going to look at what was special about, the Christmas, whether it was the place, Bethlehem, or whether it was the people in the story. What was special about it that it's continued on for over 2,000 years?
Yeah, so we talked about Bethlehem, but then if we break it down smaller, Jesus was born in a stable amongst animals.
Wow.
He wasn't in a nice hotel. He wasn't chilling in a hospital or anything like that. He was born amongst animals, which obviously isn't nice.
Yeah, like I was thinking about this the other day, and I was just thinking what the environment and kind of the aroma almost of a stable be, and it wouldn't be a nice aroma because there would be like animals there and all of that stuff there. It wouldn't smell nice. It wouldn't be a comfortable place for people to be in. And today we see so many, even in center of major cities, churches put up this kind of replica of the nativity, kind of where it happened, the stable. Yet I don't. For the ones that I've experienced, I've never seen this organic, authentic representation of the aroma and everything. And imagine. So I was thinking, imagine instead of creating a replica, you went to an actual stable and just put the props there,
Yeah.
and getting the true, real experience of what Christmas was like at the first Christmas.
Yeah, because whenever we talk about Christmas nowadays, we, like you say, get replicas. That's all the nice parts, but we don't really understand the real context of it. What did it smell like? What was it like for Mary or for Joseph in that time? For Mary to give birth when there was no medication, when it was a brutal time, it wasn't anything particularly nice about the place or the surroundings that Jesus was born in. So there we have the place, and we don't really find any significance in that, do we?
No, like the place doesn't seem to make it special.
Yeah.
And like we really want to find out today what is it that makes the Christmas story so special, that we're celebrating it still today.
So is there anything else we can look at to?
Let's try the people, because
Okay,
we've looked at the place, Bethlehem, nothing important. So maybe the people were special. What about Mary? So we talked a little bit about her.
Yeah, so Mary was uneducated probably. She wasn't the most wealthiest. She was a normal girl. And there wasn't anything particularly special about her. That's all I know of her.
As you said, I don't think I know anything more about her, apart from her cousin auntie, wasn't it? Elizabeth, and they weren't they were elderly people, and they weren't like a royal family or anything like that. Because I was thinking, comparing kind of the celebration of the birth of Christ almost to the celebration that happened when Prince William and Kate had a baby. That was huge.
Yeah.
On a similar scale, maybe not the time period. Yet there's a big contrast. Mary wasn't married into a royal family. Let's look at Joseph.
Yeah, well, she wasn't even married when she was pregnant with Jesus. So obviously there's a lot of complications or issues. I think for her in those time periods, she would have been known in the city as, that's Mary, she's the one who's pregnant and hasn't even been married. So there's a lot of social context around that. Again, I don't think that's particularly significant, but it's an aspect that we kind of forget about. You talk about Joseph, again, I think he's another normal guy, a carpenter. And he had a baby on the way, so he had to take care of it. He had to get the money in. He had to take care of the family that was going to be born.
Was he a billionaire?
I doubt it. If he was, I think Jesus would have been born in a nice hotel or would have got some luxury items. But no, I think he was a normal guy. I don't think he was that well known.
Yeah, even we fast forward after Jesus was born, and the Jews had to pay a temple tax. and they choose the tax that was allocated for the poorest of people. So again, we know they weren't like rich or royal and all of that stuff. And so Joseph and Mary, them two, wasn't really special.
Yeah. So was there anyone else that we can look at?
We can look at the shepherds. And like the shepherds, like they were just out doing their thing, on their day job really. And you know, and suddenly these angels come and they announce the birth of this coming king and Messiah.
Was the shepherd's job anything like special? Were they like
No.
well known, or was...
No, so like actually in the Hebrew context, or even in that time period, it was the Roman officials or the Jewish, Sanhedrin, the Pharisees. Those were the guys who were like looked up to, like, and if something happened in their lives, like to their celebrities, then it would be a big thing. But shepherds, now, who goes to tell things to shepherds? You go to tell things to the Sanhedrin, the council officials. Shepherds?
Yeah.
Like I don't see any significance with them.
I guess it's like someone going to an office worker or someone in Nando's, maybe.
People in Nando's are special.
True, they are very special.
They prepare that glorious chicken first.
But if someone came to just a normal person and announced something that big, you'd think, why would you tell someone like that?
Yeah, and so so we just talking about Nando's, and like, can you imagine yourself? Let's just say you work in Nando's, right? And suddenly you got this chicken on the grill, all right? It's cooking, it's steaming, it's looking nice, and then suddenly there's these angels like telling you, do not be afraid. We've come here to announce the good news to you of the coming king.
Yeah.
I don't know, what would that be like?
I don't know, maybe the angels were there for the chicken. Maybe that's why they came in and they told
I personally would not blame them if they were there for the chicken. Yeah, I think that's enough for the free promo for Nando's. But there's nothing special about the shepherds.
So we've talked about Mary, we've talked about Joseph, we've talked about the shepherds, but I think there's another group of people called the Magi, or the wise men. Was there anything significant about them?
No, these were just some random dudes who turned up from like the Far East, I think, and just showed up to this place, Bethlehem, which was, again, the insignificant place.
But I think most wise men have beards, so they might have been significant for that fact. Or maybe I'm just biased, but I think they're significant.
No, well, I agree with you completely.
Okay, cool.
Wise men definitely do have beards, and when we look at like church history, like most church fathers have had big beards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not the point of what we're talking about. No. So the wise men were just normal guys, but I think as I read about them, they were significant in the fact that they showed the significance of Jesus. So when they came to Jesus, a baby, they bowed down and worshipped. You don't do that to just normal babies being born to you.
Yeah.
But also the way Herod treated them. Herod treated he didn't regard them in any special way, but they were just normal people.
Yeah. Herod didn't say, look, I will give you my people. He said, okay, go and look for him and come back if you find him. He didn't say, okay, I'll give you my kind of manpower to go and help you because they're so special.
Yeah, but the wise men also bought gifts, right?
Yeah.
They bought various things because I think they knew something about this baby.
Yeah, I think it says that there was a prophecy that was written that the wise men somehow acquired from the old scriptures, and they were following that prophecy.
So we don't find any real significance in the wise men. Again, they were normal people.
Yeah, and so there's only one other person that you alluded to just earlier, is the baby Jesus. And so, like, was he significant?
Yep.
Yeah.
Simple answer.
And so, like, all of these people and the place are insignificant, but their significance is brought about in the story and to all this time by this baby Jesus. And babies in themselves are not significant.
Yeah, because we've talked about it. Babies are born all the time. But for me, I think when you talk about the story of Christmas and you talk about the baby Jesus, you can't separate it from the adult Jesus. You can't separate Jesus in the stable from Jesus at the cross. The significance is in his whole life.
Yeah, it's like asking the question, why was the baby Jesus significant?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because of who he was and what he came to do, what he did, and what he means today, really. That was his significance. And we know that just from the story. What made Mary significant was that she was carrying the Son of God. She got pregnant by the Holy Spirit. That's what made Mary significant. Not she wasn't significant.
Yeah, I guess it's, as you were saying, I guess it's the same for our own lives. We in ourselves aren't significant people, but when we focus on the presence of God, when we focus on the power of God, in that God makes us significant. The same way when we talk about Mary or Joseph or the shepherds, firstly we have to look at God, and then that's where people's significance comes from. It doesn't come from their wealth or their occupation, but it comes from them knowing God personally.
Totally. And see, like, so let's talk about a little bit more about the significance of Jesus and what that means, because I think so to what today's show is about, comparing and contrasting how we celebrate Christmas today to how it was celebrated in the first day. And you alluded to this earlier, Chirag, about how the wise men who had come from this far place, they came and they worshipped Jesus and they brought gifts to this baby Jesus.
It's crazy.
And you know, and the Bible says they worshipped Jesus. And who do you give worship to?
God.
God. And so the significance of that is that baby Jesus in that small manger was God in flesh, the God-man, 100% God, 100% man. You know, like, and that's what makes the story so significant and everlasting, really.
Yeah.
Since it's happened, you know, it's permeated through our history.
And people still talk about it today, despite the fact of how Christmas is portrayed about materialistic things and buying presents and things like that. People still talk about Jesus because of this life he lived. Like you said, God made himself known in the flesh through Jesus. And Jesus was born for a reason. He wasn't just born for Christmas. He wasn't born so that we might have good food.
Yeah.
He was born for a reason.
We love good food, and Jesus appreciates that.
Yeah, you understand we love food. But he was born for a purpose. He was born according to scripture, according to prophecy.
Yeah.
And so there was significance in the whole life of Jesus, not just the birth, not just the death and resurrection, but in the whole thing.
Yeah, and like, you know, I think, so one of the promises that was given to Mary from the angel was like, you will bear a child, his name shall be Jesus, and he shall save his people from their sins.
Yeah.
And I believe, see, why Jesus is so significant is because God comes in earth, to meet the greatest need of mankind. See, like today, even at Christmas, you know, people have needs there. You know, sometimes even they use credit cards to get presents and decorate. And like, you know, I sometimes that makes me sad. We get caught up in all these other so-called needs, but Christmas is about need because Jesus came to fulfill a need. Yeah. And the greatest need of humanity has been from the beginning, really, after Adam and Eve sinned, has been deliverance from that sin, redemption from that sin. And that is what Jesus came to do.
Yeah, that is the root issue of all things. You might look at the news now and you think, oh man, why is all this going on? Why things happen? The root is sin. But Christmas is a time of great joy because God came to solve the problem that we got ourselves in.
It's beautiful you say that because, you know, so many people, you know, even at my workplace, even at university and that, and people ask me, you know, like, world's going crazy today, you know, we got all this violence and just natural disasters, you know, what's going to happen to us? And, you know, the solution is staring us right in our face in this Christmas season.
Yeah, the significance of this story isn't just 2,000 years ago. It's still significant today because of the situation the world is in. Like you said, the need is to deliver us from sin, and we're still in that same position today. Unless you turn to Jesus, unless you believe and confess with your mouth that he is Lord.
I love this little quote, and it's like probably a meme or like pictures on Facebook, and it's got the wise man, it's got the star, and them kind of walking, and it says, wise men still follow him today. You know, and that's really true. Wise men still follow Jesus. They still worship Jesus. They still bring gifts to Jesus, and they present themselves as gifts to Jesus.
Do those wise men have beards? Just so I know. Just for my own benefit.
I'm pretty sure those wise men did have beards.
Cool. Good. I'm glad.
I'm sure Jesus had a beard, so we're cool with that.
Yeah, I hope he did. That would be cool. But yeah, the significance is in the person of Jesus, and everything else finds its significance in that.
And we want to make it a little bit more personal for you guys today. Not just tell you about that the significance is in Jesus, but as human beings, as people just living a normal life, we feel pretty insignificant at times, just kind of like just doing our job, just going, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, having a rest of the weekend or just doing something on the weekend. And this cycle just continues over and over again. And I know a lot of people who feel really insignificant in life,
Yeah.
And so we've talked about these people who lived in or were in an insignificant place, yet something about that story made them so significant that even today we're talking about those people. So these people who felt insignificant were made to be part of something so significant that is permeated through our history. And we want to tell you how you can become a part of that, how you can be a part of that significance.
Yeah, essentially it's about the presence of God. It's about knowing Jesus, but being included in what God is doing. I think at Christmas time, it's easy to compare yourself with people. I've seen it on the news, and people are trying to buy the best presents or trying to spend the most on their kids when they might not even have the money to do that. And I think that is because people want to compare themselves with each other. But when we look at God, God doesn't compare me to you.
Yeah.
God looks at us through the eyes of his son, Jesus. And so in his eyes, we are all perfect and find our significance in that.
That's right, man. I was just saying earlier, it makes me sad. And because I've literally had people come up to me after Christmas, like depressed because they've spent too much on their credit card. And now they have to make payments, but they don't have the money to make the payments. And we advise you against that, And personally, let me just tell you something personal. Like this year, I won't really be buying Christmas presents and all that. And I'm a third-year student. I'm on clinical placement. So sorry, bro. I'm not really sorry, but because that's not what Christmas is about. We want to celebrate, and it's a great thing to do if you have. It's great to give gifts. Whether it's at Christmas or not even at Christmas. It's great to bless people and just to invest in people with gifts. But the best thing. It's like it's Christmas time can be a challenge, not just financially though. For a lot of people, it becomes an emotional challenge because Christmas is supposed to be spent with family, loved ones, all that, which is great to do. Again, there's nothing wrong in it to doing that, but that whole comparison, we're not supposed to be. So if people don't have their family around them, I know people get depressed, distressed. But your significance in that time period should be your time spent with Jesus. It's the presence of Jesus, whether you're a single person, whether you're a couple or your family or your extended family together. The significance of Christmas comes with you being present with Jesus.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because at this time we always talk about people being together and the joy of Christmas. But the reality is some people, like you said, are lonely. Some people are by themselves. But I always think of our lives have been essentially, you can find our lives in the Bible. So when you look at someone like Moses, he was lonely, he was isolated, but he didn't find his significance in that, and he went through a hard time. But when he encountered the presence of God, when he met God in that burning bush, then he found his true place. Obviously, he had a lot to learn, but he found the real purpose and meaning to life through encountering God.
Yeah, Chirag, it's great that you mentioned about Moses. One of my favorite kind of characters from the Bible of the Old Testament anyway is David, King David. One story, I love his story because, I can connect with it. I know most people can connect with it. And we're talking about people feeling insignificant and then becoming part of something significant. And David was an interesting guy. He was a shepherd boy. And he was part of like a family and other brothers. Right, and his brothers were like really big boys. They were like, hench, as we say it. I hope they had beards.
I'm sure
hench people always have beards. Hench people have beards. Yeah, this message is, I don't know. So hench people have beards. I don't know why I just said that again. But his brothers were really big. And so this is a story where God tells this prophet Samuel to go and pick the next king of Israel. And so Samuel's thinking, it's going to be somebody like big and muscly and strong looking, handsome, tall guy. And so he goes there and he looks at this one, the big one, and God says no to Samuel. And then I love this phrase as well, when God says to Samuel that, for man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. And that I love that. But David was see David, his father didn't even have David there. David was so insignificant to his even own father that his father didn't even think that no one will ever think about making him king.
Yeah.
Yet God remembered him. And so I want to tell you guys, look, today, if you feel that your family or your friends or your boss at your work has just thought you're insignificant, has just not thought about you, God will not forget you. You just need to have that heart that loves God, and that's after God's heart. I
love that story of David and Goliath as well, because when David was anointed and he beat Goliath, he still carried on as a shepherd. Like it didn't make him big-headed or anything like that. But his significance was found in God, not his occupation, despite being anointed as king. But when you talk about insignificance and significance, I always think of the disciples. A lot of people argue, might say the disciples were teenagers. But they were, again, normal people. One was a tax collector, other were fishermen. They weren't well respected. Some of them weren't well liked in society.
Yeah.
But essentially, everything we now know of Christianity, everything we are as Christians, came essentially from them continuing on everything Jesus did. The epistles, the rest of the New Testament is because of these insignificant people that became significant through the presence of Jesus.
They've literally changed the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And see, it was the presence of God, and there's this passage, I forgot where exactly it's written. It's basically talks about where there's disciples they're in the city or in the town, and these other people recognize the disciples because they recognize their character, and they said these people must have been with Jesus.
Yeah, I love that.
Jesus must have been present with them and can do people, and being present with Jesus will change you, and people will recognize that.
Yeah, there's another phrase or a scripture about them, and it says something along the lines of, these disciples are those that have turned the world upside down.
Yeah.
I love that, because that is exactly what they did. They didn't turn it upside down, they turned it the right way up for God.
That's right.
But yeah, it was the presence of God that completely changed their lives. And the same can happen for you, and it probably has happened to you, is God has completely changed our lives. We haven't done anything, we weren't special, we didn't deserve it, but it is the presence of Jesus that makes everything come alive, everything fresh zeal and passion to it. So we want to encourage you in that. Find your significance in who God has made you to be, not in your material possessions or anything like that.
Yeah, and during this Christmas season, we just want to wish you a Merry Christmas and that you enjoy the festive season. But we want you to get the significance of this Christmas period, not from the decorations, not from the place you go to, not from the people you're around, really, but the significance comes from spending time with Jesus and worshiping Him, and presenting gifts to Him. That's truly the message of Jesus, and we want to encourage you to really, celebrate Christmas with decoration, with family, but keep Christ central to your Christmas. And that's it for today. So we just want to bless you, encourage you, and until next time, keep living it.